There are a number of things that strike me as totally wrong with the idea that you can't have morals without a God, because I think that to a large degree, your morals can be tested in moments of immediacy or emergency, where you don't really have time to contemplate. And
Absolutely.
I have, on occasions, found myself, without thought, rushing to the aid of someone that is being beaten up by a number of people in the street, or someone that's collapsed and needs medical aid. At no point is there any conscious decision about this. It's instinctive in me, hardwired, if you like.
Right,
And
that's the case.
yeah, and what I find extraordinary is the people that say, let's stick with Christians for the time being. And they say, oh, well, I get my morality from the Bible. I have to say that I don't believe these people have ever read the Bible. And if they have, or even if they haven't, you say, well, what are the fundamental moral values you take from it? And inevitably, they're going to end up saying the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask them what those Ten Commandments are, it's more than likely that they won't be able to name more than 5 of them.
I know.
And these are the same people that will say that there is an objective moral standard from God.
Mm-hmm.
My retort to that, and I know it's something that you're familiar with because you've used this example in your lectures to good effect, I posed the trolley problem to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, there's the problem, there is your Bible. What is the answer? Now, for those that may not know the trolley problem, would you just like to explain that before I take it to this next level?
Sure. It's a great problem that some philosophers, I think, originally designed. And it goes like this. You're walking down a road, and you're by a trolley track, and you see a runaway trolley. And you look, and the conductor of the trolley is slumped over the wheel. Something's happened to him. And the trolley is hurtling down the track, and there are 5 workmen on the track, and they're going to get run over by the trolley. And you notice that there's a switch that will maybe divert the trolley, and it'll divert it over to a side track. But there's another workman on that track who, if you divert it, is also going to get hit by the trolley. And so, is it permissible? Is it permissible to run over and to hit that switch and divert the trolley onto the other track? And most people say automatically, yes, absolutely. Then there's a second trolley problem, which is you're out for a walk and you're walking over a bridge, and you notice that a trolley is hurtling down, and you look, and the conductor is slumped over, and you look behind you, and the trolley is going to go under the bridge you're on, and there are 5 workmen that are working on the track, and they're going to get hit. And what do you do? And there's a big man standing next to you looking at the runaway trolley too, big fellow, and you realize that if you take this guy and push him off the bridge, and he'll go down on the track, and he will, the trolley will hit him and stop the runaway trolley. Is it permissible to push that guy off the bridge? And people say, no. People just say, no, you can't do that. Almost everybody. And if you step back and look at it, it's exactly the same problem. You kill 1 person to save 5. It's the exact same moral dilemma. But in the first, people say, absolutely, it's permissible to hit the switch. In the second problem, people say, No. A few people, after a long pause, will say, well, okay. And what this shows is that we have this instinctive response not to harm. We can't push that guy. We can push a switch where we're not directly harming, but we can't do direct harm. And we have this instinctive mechanism. And what's even more exciting, to me at least, is that we've mapped it out with these neuroimaging studies. And the people in the first trolley problem, what lights up is a piece of cortex that does calculations. Kill one, save 5, okay, move the switch. In the second problem, we have the cortex light up, but we also have an emotional part of our brain in the medial frontal part of our brain that lights up, and it creates a conflict. And that's the emotional, instinctive part that's going, don't push, don't hurt. And there's another part of the brain that mediates it, this anterior cingulate cortex. And so you can see both parts of the brain light up, and you can see it sort of mediated. And a few people, will say, well, it's okay to push the guy off the bridge. But what you see is that instinctive, automatic response that we have that we can't tell you. If I ask you later why you did it, people will come up with rationalizations and explanations, but they're really secondary because you really didn't know. You just had this instinctive response. No, I can't hurt the guy. And so you really see it in the flesh, so to speak. And then they do all sorts of other interesting trolley problems where the person on the track where you would divert the train is your mother or somebody in your family. It's fascinating research. And if morality comes from God, why did he make psychopaths? Because the psychopaths have no problem. The psychopaths throw the switch in the first experiment, and in the second experiment where you push the guy off the bridge, psychopaths, no problem. They push him off the bridge. No big deal. And the psychopaths, that medial part, the emotional part, that instinctive part, doesn't light up. It's just strictly calculation. Yep, push him off the bridge. And so you see, I think, all sorts of interesting things that, if you can fit God into that picture, more power to you, because I think science shows it in much more accurate and complex richness.
Well, I've had this conversation with a number of people, and one of the variations I put on it when I said to them, look, here's a Bible, here's a trolley problem. If you get your morality from the Bible, tell me the answer. And the answer to the first one, oh, that's easy, of course, I save the 5. And the variation I threw at him was, well, what? Sorry, I saved the 5. Yeah. What if the 5 were convicted murderers and paedophiles? And he paused for a moment and said, well, that makes it more difficult. And I was like, well, of course it does, but there's your Bible.
Yeah.
You say objective morality comes from your God. Where is it? I just find it absolutely fascinating. And the other thing about the trolley problem is that this is universal. Yes. This experiment has been done in many different countries, is it not?
Right. With the cultural variation of the equivalent of a trolley. And
the results are
the same. I mean, they're universal. And so again, I think what it shows is it taps into innate human nature. Now, I think that's a brilliant idea to say, okay, I'd not heard that one about, okay, the 5 people on the track that would be killed are all convicted murderers or pedophiles. And another variation that occurs to me would be, the 5 guys on the track are convicted murderers and pedophiles, and the person on the diverted track, the one person who would be killed is your mother, or, somebody who you know well.
Or an alternative is the person that you're going to throw off the bridge is a convicted murderer and paedophile.
Yeah, I mean I think the variations are fascinating. And what they tap into are these innate moral instincts, which then can create conflict.
Again, going back to morality from the Bible, and what has unfortunately been described by our Prime Minister in the last few weeks as the virtue of Christian values. This is slightly off topic, but what Christian or moral values do you actually see the Bible advancing?
I don't. I see it as cherry-picked. I think people pick out the ones that they think are actually congruent with their intuitive moral systems. And I think it illustrates the problem, because they'll pick out the ones that are automatic, intuitive, emotional for them, but they don't have a rational explanation. So they'll latch on to the rational explanation, say, provided in whatever they've cherry-picked out of the Bible. And then, of course, they ignore the ones about stoning adulterers or...
Well, the problem I think they have is that however wonderful their arguments are, in that the Old Testament laws no longer apply because Jesus fulfilled the sacrificial covenant, and therefore only the various bits of the Old Testament apply. And so the one I think they're absolutely banked to rights on is the issue of slavery. I don't see how to get around that, because Jesus never spoke against slavery. It's mentioned in the New Testament several times, and on all of those occasions it's never mentioned as if it's a bad thing and it shouldn't happen. And yet this is something that I don't believe any theist now would seriously try and advance as being a morally acceptable thing to do. So I'm not so bothered about the stoning to death, but the slavery issue is one I can't see that they will get around. They can get around. But that
and I think
sorry, good to go.
People are interested in the topic. I think one of the best discussions of this is in Sam Harris's little book, Letter to a Christian Nation. I think he really takes that issue of slavery and uses it beautifully.